Hey there everyone, welcome to Arsenal Fan TV. This is the preview for Saturday's game, the 12:45 kickoff, Newcastle versus Arsenal. We're travelling up north to face the Geordies, and I'm not expecting an easy game. I'm really not. Given how we've started the season, given how Newcastle played against Manchester United, I don't feel overly confident going into this game. Newcastle have been renowned recently for being a pretty poor team and a pretty poor outfit. Last season they really were. They came close to relegation, but they made it a difficult game when we went to their place, and they seem to do that every time we travel up to St James's Park. They seem to be a little bit more motivated when they play us, which pretty much goes for any team. That's just typical of Arsenal. But going into this game, if Newcastle defend the way they did at Old Trafford, then I struggle to see us getting anything out of this game, given how we played against Liverpool. I do have concerns going into this game. First of all, Aaron Ramsey playing on the right-hand side, which I think is a topic that has to be discussed going into the game, because that was, for me, was why we lost that, well, not lost, it feels like a loss, the draw against Liverpool on Monday night where we only picked up a point. Ramsey on the right just completely nullified our fluidity, and it wasn't really Liverpool defending well against us, it was just we nullified our own creating influence. It was really frustrating, that game, and if we play that, I just predict that we're going to be playing this dilly-dally, pretty boy style of football outside the box for large spells of the game and failing to get an end product away. We are so consistent at doing that, and I'd really like to think that we play someone like Chamberlain on the right hand side, a driving force that will get behind that Newcastle defence. I'm still caught up in Monday night's game, and hopefully we can get a result from this. It's important that we go into the international break with 3 points behind our belt and a convincing performance at that. We weren't overly convincing when we beat Palace, and we haven't really had a convincing performance of the season yet. So we need to put in a good display and give us fans something to cheer about going into the international break. Give us a little bit of respite, and hopefully we can come back and go on a run. Well, I say a run, but if you look at our September fixtures, we've got some incredibly difficult games coming up, and if we lose this game and City win against Watford, when we're 8 points behind, when we've got the likes of Chelsea away coming up, when we've got the likes of Leicester away, Stoke at home, and even Man United in a couple of weeks' time, in a month or so's time, it's not going to look good for us if we're 8 points behind going into September. That would be a really bad position to be in, and you can kind of almost count us out of the title at that point. So it's vital that we win this game. It is a massive, massive fixture for us, and we have to turn up to it. So I've already mentioned Aaron Ramsey on the right-hand side, which is my main concern for this game. But my other concern is, of course, our defence. Koscielny is most likely going to be out for the game, and Mertesacker apparently refused to take antibiotics, so he's not going to be available for the game unless he gets some kind of miracle recovery. But I do worry about Gabriel and Chambers. Chambers more so. Gabriel was superb in the game against Liverpool. Got no questions, quibbles, whatever about him starting the game. I'd love to see him start, even if Mertesacker and Koscielny both came back into the side. But Chambers was poor in the game against Liverpool. He looked incredibly nervous, but I don't want to doubt his talent. Last season he was quality at the start of the season when he was younger, so it's a bit weird that he's playing in such a poor manner of football at this moment in time. I just think he needs a run of games under his belt. He should have had a week's training alongside Gabriel and Petr Cech and Hector Bellerin, Monreal, etc., playing in that back line. So I think going into the game against Newcastle, it'd be a little bit more robust, and I'd like to think he'd be a little bit more confident in himself. I do hope that someone like Mertesacker or Koscielny is back to shore up the defence, but if not, I'm counting on Chambers having a good performance, and I have no doubts that Gabriel will put in a really good display. Looking at Newcastle, like I say, they've started the season pretty poorly, bar the game that they had at Old Trafford, which was kind of a once-in-a-blue-moon performance from them. As we know, Newcastle are capable of performing that kind of, putting that kind of performance in every so often, like they did against Chelsea last season when they beat them at their own place. So, I don't know, I mean, they're an odd team, a really odd team to play against. They can have great games, but for the most part of the season they're pretty awful, and I don't think that McLaren was ideally the best appointment for them. I'm still kind of scratching my head over why they got him in, the Wally with the Brolly, who's never really done much in his managerial career. But they've got dangerous players, there's no doubt about that. They recently lost Remy Cabella, who was looked like one of their most attacking players last season, but of course things didn't really work out, and they replaced him with Forvan, who I don't really know much about, in all honesty. I think we've played against him in the Champions League. I think he was one of their fast, pacey winger, central midfielder kind of players, and he looked decent when he came on in the game at Old Trafford last week, and he actually got in a really good position to score, so he's a player to be wary of. I don't think we need to fret too much over the likes of Papas Cisse, etc., but of course that all depends on what kind of defence we lay out. Basically, we just can't underestimate Newcastle. We've got to go into the game not being too arrogant. We know that they're a difficult team to play against away from home, especially when it's us playing them, and we've got to be going out there getting the 3 points. And yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, they've got Forvan, they've got some tricky players to play against. Colaccini, Mike Williamson, we should really be exploiting that defence. No matter how good Colaccini was against Man United, we really should be breaking that back line down, and I have confidence that we will. We should overrun their midfield with the players that we've got, and I'd like to see change in the Arsenal squad. Definitely Oxlade-Chamberlain or Theo Walcott, one of them two has to come into the team. And I've got your team lineups as I always do in these videos now. If you don't follow me on Twitter at simplycookie_, I'm trying to get you involved in these videos, so tweet me before and after games, getting your lineups in on this one. So let's take to Twitter. And the first one I've got from at Dilisp16 is Cech, Bellerin, Gabriel, Debuchy, Monreal, Ramsey, Coquelin, Sanchez, Ozil, Chamberlain and Walcott. Bit of an interesting one, drop in Chambers for playing Debuchy at centre half, but I can understand the reasoning behind that. And then from Super Sour Sweet is Cech, Bellerin, Koscielny, Gabriel, Monreal, Coquelin, Ramsey, Chamberlain, Ozil, Walcott and Giroud. It's an odd team, leaving Alexis Sanchez out. And next up from at Naturlig 1980 is Cech, Bellerin, Koscielny, Monreal, Coquelin, Chamberlain, Santi, Ozil, Alexis, Giroud and Walcott. What's that, a 4-3-1-4-2? I don't think we'll be playing that formation in a month of Sundays, but at Colombo Cock, yet again, superb name that. Cech, Bellerin, Gabriel, Koscielny, Monreal, Cazorla, Coquelin, Alexis, Ozil, Chamberlain and Theo. And next up from at iTaylor17 is Cech, Bellerin, Gabriel, Koscielny, Monreal, Coquelin, Cazorla, Ramsey, Ozil, Alexis and Giroud. And the final one from at Corcherino, Cech, Bellerin, Gabriel, Koscielny, Monreal, Coquelin, Cazorla, Chamberlain, Ozil, Alexis and Giroud. And he mentions that Giroud has a great record against Newcastle, which he does, and Theo Walcott's got a decent record against them too, so I wouldn't have too many doubts about those two players starting the game. But I haven't actually given my lineup yet, and the team that I want to see start this game is Cech, Bellerin, Gabriel, Koscielny, Monreal, Coquelin, Ramsey, Chamberlain, Ozil, Alexis and Olivier Giroud. I want to see Ramsey brought back into the middle. I want to see Cazorla dropped. I don't think he had a good game against Liverpool, and I want to see him given some respite. I want to see how Ramsey performs in that midfield alongside Francis Coquelin. I'd like to think that these two can perform a partnership for the next potentially 5 years or so. That could be a long-term thing. Chamberlain undoubtedly has to start the game. I've mentioned that a few times. Practically everyone was screaming out for it against Liverpool, and he made such an impact when he came on for the 5-6 minutes or so that he was on the pitch. So unquestionably, he has to start the game alongside Ozil, alongside Sanchez, with Giroud up top. I think that could be lethal going forward. It's just a case of shoring up the defensive. Cech has another world-class game, then I have no doubts that we'll keep a clean sheet, I would hope. But in realistic, if Chambers starts the game and if he plays to the way he did against Liverpool, then I'm pretty confident we may concede in this game. But hopefully Koscielny will come back in. I'm praying he'll come back in, play alongside Gabriel. I think those two could perform a really good partnership for the next couple of years. But I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to Arsenal. I do think we will concede at some point in this game, but I hope we don't. And I do want to see a convincing performance from us, not just for one half of the game, for the whole game. I want a good 90-minute display from Arsenal, and hopefully we can go into that international break with our heads held high, and we can come back and absolutely smash September and the start of October. And yeah, it's a massive month for us. Things really are starting to come under the cosh a little bit, but it's a massive game for us. 12:45 kickoff. St James's Park is the place to be. Leave your thoughts on the game in the comments box below. Get your score predictions in. Get your team lineups in. Like the video if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to Arsenal Fan TV. Do make sure to check out my own channel, AFC Game by Game. And as always, thank you for watching.